Hi guys, and welcome back to World of Tanks. And well, I have been busy today. This is actually the third garage video I've recorded today. I've done the what's in my garage, I've done the two Sherman variants at tier 6, and now we're looking at the T28 Concept, which has come onto the store today, Friday the 7th of October. It's basically the tier 7 concept version of the T28 prototype, or the T28 itself, but it's down at tier 7 instead of up at tier 8, and instead of getting a 120mm gun, it's got the 105mm gun, which is similar to the one on the T29 but not quite the same, so we'll have a look at that in just a moment. But first, let's have a look at how it is in the store. How it is in the store, how much it is in the store. See, my brain isn't working, I've been doing too much work. Right, we've got two packs, fully loaded and loaded, 8,100 for the fully loaded, and you get camo net, binocular telescope, tank gun rammer, a nice mix of ammunition, 3 days of premium, and an ASOP and a garage slot. And then on the loaded, you just get the camo net, same ammunition, same 3 days of premium, garage slot, and the ASOP again. So let's have a quick look at it. Like I say, it's got a 105mm gun, not quite the same as the thingy one, the T29, but not far off. So we'll have a look at some of the basic stats first. Right, 960 horsepower engine, which gives it a speed limit of 29 kilometers an hour, so it's faster than the T28 and the T28 prototype, but it's still a little bit sluggish. 105mm gun with 6 rounds a minute, which is not bad actually. 181 penetration as opposed to the T29's 198, I think it is. And 320 damage, 224 on your premium ammunition, and 320 damage again, 53 and 420 for your HE. 2.10 second aiming time, which feels a little bit long, but I might be being a bit critical of that, and a 0.4 accuracy, which again isn't brilliant, but again it's not too savage really. You can make it work. Traverse speed of 18 degrees a second, which is on the poor side. And even the gun traverse on this is only 18 degrees a second, which is quite poor considering it's just the gun. A view range of 370 meters and a slightly lower signal range than average, I would have said, at 570 meters. Now, ammunition cost 1,000 for your standard shells, which seems quite expensive. I'm going to check what they are on the T29 in a minute. 4,800 for your APCR premiums and 680 for your high explosive. And while I remember, let's just have a look. No, same as the T29, but you get a little bit less bang for your buck out of it. And now I've lost it. There we go. Couldn't find it then. Yeah, quite different to the others. We'll have a look at the armor and the modules in just a moment. Equipment wise, well, I've got the camo net. I'm going to stick a gun rammer on it and possibly a gun lane drive, maybe some optics instead. I'm not quite sure yet. Skills, well, let's have a look in my Lycan, because that's where my tank destroyer crew is at the minute. Well, on that I've got camouflage, I've got repairs, I've got sixth sense, I've got muffled shot. I'm actually working for situational awareness, and I would say they would possibly work quite well for this. You do want repairs on it, because a lot of the time you will get tracked and things will try and get around you, because it does look like your gun will actually turn quite far, but it doesn't. It does have a very good arc, and you see those darker scrapes just either side. Well, that's your gun arc to either side, so it's about there and about there, so it is quite good. Modules, well, reload time is 10 seconds. Your stationary concealment isn't bad. It's quite a bulky thing at 0.26, and moving is 0.16. Like I say, 29 kilometer an hour speed limit. The engine, which is in the big bulky bit at the back, apparently this used certain components from the M6. Give it a power to weight ratio of 13.79, so it's not brilliant, but it's better than some of the others. Definitely 10 kilometers in reverse. And it does kind of almost do its top speed on flat ground. It definitely does going downhill, but it is quicker than, like I say, the other T28 prototypes and some of the other vehicles. But the engine is just at the back there. So the gun, basically just in the rounded sort of gun shield at the front. So again, if you wanted to take it out, you could get it through the side or just hit the barrel itself. Tracks, quite a few gaps to shoot through in those. Radio on this side of the tank, just behind one of those side sponsons. Ammunition, big ammunition blocks. As you can see, they are just under the sort of gun mantle. And how many crew in there? 5 crew, so you've got the driver in the front at the middle, the commander possibly under that tiny little cupola there, little bobble on top, the gunner just behind the gun, and possibly the radio operator and maybe a loader in there as well, but at least you know where they are if you want to try and take them out. Now, armour wise, basic figures, 203 on the front, 102 on the side, which is better than the T28 and the T28 prototype for the sides, and 51 on the rear. But again, that never really tells the whole story, as you can see by all the different colours. So 1 to 20, which is your tracks, and yeah, quite an odd bit of a gun shield. I don't quite know what to call it, but it's actually inside the hull there at the back of the gun. So you do have a few bits to get through if you're trying to go through the front of it. 21 to 30, which is the top of it, the big rounded bit that looks like the gun should move around on it at the front, the top of that bit. So arty, that's where you want to be aiming for, those bits. 31 to 50, you've got a couple of strips just at the top on either side. You've got the rear of the vehicle, those small plates over the tracks, which do act as a small amount of armour, and the upper plate as well, but again, it's a bit like the Chieftain, very, very well angled. So depending on the actual thickness, you'd possibly need maybe 122mm, might overmatch it, possibly. I don't know without actually knowing the proper thickness. 51 to 70 is further up the upper plate, but again, because of the angle, chances are that's going to bounce, and what I can assume is the viewports on top as well. So if you can hit those, that's a decent weak spot to go for. And with those two clumped together on one side there, I'd say they'd be the best ones to go for, because if you miss one, there's a good chance you're going to hit the other. 71 to 90, small little bit either side of the gun and also a ring just around it. 91 to 120, well, that's basically the side of the hull, the side of the gun mounting. You've got the strip just around the top of the gun there as well, going around in a semicircle. The side sponsons, which again from the front could be quite a decent weak spot. I'm going to have to try and keep this thing at range. I've not actually been in this yet. I think, well, sorry, no, I have. I've had one match in it so far, and didn't really do that much. Didn't see many tanks. I kind of went the wrong way a little bit. But those side sponsons could be a bit of a weak spot from the front. So again, I'd try and probably keep this at medium range at least. But that's just from first impressions. I'll be able to let you know more when I actually do the review. 121 to 160, again just a little piece either side of the gun. 161 to 190, various little bits all over it. Now I'm assuming it could be just be shadow, or it could be because it's darker, but you've got that little strip just above, or possibly what may class as the lower plate, on the cheeks of the hull either side there, and just around that driver's hatch, which is a bit thicker than the rest of the upper plate. So not a particular, not really a weak spot, that driver's view hatch, and strips and sides of this sort of upper superstructure there as well. And then your 203 is just that front plate, which to be honest is quite flat. So if you're close up with maybe a long 88, there's a good chance you're going to get through that front plate, and also various parts of the gun mantle slash sort of mounting mechanism there at 203. But again, this is why this armour view is quite useful. It doesn't quite tell the whole story. Yeah, I think that's about it for the modules. We've seen the armour. I can't give you any gameplay tips in the actual garage because, well, I've not really played it yet. I've had one game in it. And again, I think that's about it. I just feel like I've missed something out for some reason. Yeah, I really don't know. I'm sure if I've missed something out, I'm sure I can say it actually in the gameplay review. In fact, I've just remembered what it is. Something I always miss. The bonuses, you get a 40% silver bonus, and you get a 20% XP bonus, and it gets premium matchmaking, so it will never see higher than tier 8, which is quite nice actually. I don't know if it really needs that premium matchmaking. That's something I'll have to give my opinion on again later on. But yeah, let's I'll shut up now. Let's get into a match or a few matches and see how this actually performs. Right, so here we are for the first of the replays, and we're on Erlenberg, standard battle, and it's a tier 8 match, and this is the highest tier you're going to get into in this. And it's a bit odd because the garage bit I said today was actually yesterday, and now it's today. And just to confuse you, but no, I recorded that yesterday, Friday, and recording this bit on Saturday. And I don't normally do a video on Saturday, but seeing as this came out and I'd said I was going to do the Sherman review, did the Sherman review yesterday, and today's the T28 HTC or Concept. So, gameplay tips. I couldn't give you any in the garage because I'd only played one game in it. Now I've played a few more, so I'm getting a feel for this, and I do quite like it. I think that extra bit of speed, it's not a lot more, and the engine's not particularly more powerful, but it does help out a lot, definitely. And it picks up quite a bit of speed going downhill, into the low 30s I think it is. I'd say in a tier 8 match, try to keep it medium to long range. You don't have to be too afraid. The side sponsons are good weak spots to go for in taking one of these down, or if you can get close enough, just get around it, because they don't turn very quick, as you can see, or shoot down onto that weaker upper plate, but at a distance that does bounce a lot of shots, and from a distance your gun from the rounded superstructure at the front can bounce quite a few shots as well, especially if you wiggle a little bit side to side. But those side sponsons are the main ones if you're close enough to hit them. Now, with the really good sort of gun arc on the front, it is tempting to angle this when you're at sort of medium to short range, but in doing so, yes, you do increase the thickness on that flatter sort of front plate, but you also then make your side sponsons, one of them at least, a more obvious target, and it's an easier target to hit. So I'd say at longer range, angle it, although you don't generally need to, because they'll normally bounce anyway, but you can angle a bit. But try and keep it I don't know, I don't want to say quite face on, but don't angle it too much. Do be very aware of those side sponsons, because it actually dips in just in front of it, so it does create a good shot trap for people shooting at you. Now, something else about this, it's not too bad on city maps, you know, it's quite good. You can get up to a corner, and because of the really good gun arc, you can sort of jam one track into the corner and sort of push round slightly, and your front plate is really well angled, but your gun's still sticking around the corner, so you can cover streets really well. I don't think I've quite... No, the third replay does have a little bit of that in it, not on a city map, but it sort of shows the principle. I'll have to try and get some city map footage. Some really good city map footage in it doing that on the corners. But as you can see here, well, it's kind of what I'm doing here, but a little bit. I'm angled, I'm using the gun arc. So I'm angled against the 112. But it can't see that side sponson on the left because of the building, and obviously it can't see the one on the right because of the sort of bulk of the superstructure. But I'm just starting to take hits from across there somewhere, but they're bouncing. Well, one of them went in. Now, just towards the back of the superstructure, I don't know if we'll actually see it. We saw it on in the garage review. There was a bit that I think it was orange, possibly, and it's just towards the back, and it's slightly curved. And again, if you're angling, you've got to be a little bit careful of that at close range. And obviously, if you wanted to take one of these down, you could go for that, but to be honest, you might as well just go for the sponsons on the side. Right, I'm going to come across this field. I think I'm covered from the left. I'm assuming it was the Tiger, maybe, and whatever else that is across there, T32, that were taking shots at me back there. Now I found when you're top tier in this thing, especially when you're coming up against lower tiers, you can afford to be very aggressive. Just don't get right up in the face, because they will just outmaneuver you and hit you in the side or your weaker rear. But you can definitely get up to short range. Just don't leave yourself vulnerable to getting outflanked. I've got this T32. He's bouncing up in front. I'm angled slightly, but not enough to expose that sponson on the left. And at this point I am just using a camouflage net. I can't remember if I'm using the gun rammer and the binoculars in the other replays, but if I've got the binoculars on, I've got the gun rammer on, so that'll give us an indication. T32's dealt with. And as you can see, I've been quite happily bouncing a few shots. I don't often come top in this, it's normally second. And I normally do sort of a bit more damage than the first place. Sometimes a couple, maybe a kill more or something like that, sometimes a kill less. I know you do get XP for a kill, not as much as you do for the damage that you do, but you do actually get it for finishing off a tank. So I know some of it will be that, but there was one, I can't remember if I've used it in a replay, and I was quite puzzled. I think I got one more kill than the top guy, done a lot more damage than the top guy, and still came in second. But I've quite often seen that with other tank destroyers. I mean, I could be sort of misremembering, if you see what I mean. And but I'm sure I've been in a match first where I came top and there was a tank destroyer second. They'd done a lot more damage than I had, and I couldn't quite figure it out. It might have been from assisted damage possibly as well. It doesn't show that on the actual table at the end. There was one of them that was definitely down to assisted damage, and it was a Chaffee that came in top in a tier 7 match. I think he'd done about 700 and something damage, so he did, obviously done a lot of assisted. He was doing a good scouting job as far as I can remember. Managed to finish off the LC, who had no idea I was there, but that was a surprise. And then all of a sudden, match is over, we've capped out. And I think I was hoping in that match that we weren't going to cap out, and they might actually just jump out the cap circle so I'd get a bit more damage done. But it wasn't too bad. Just under 2,000 blocked, just over 2,100 damage done. I did say the rate of fire in the garage wasn't too bad actually. It's not too bad for 105mm. It's a little on the slow side for a tank destroyer. I know the T28 prototype is a tier up, but I think that gets about 7.5 or 7.3 rounds a minute with 105mm. But again, it's manageable. I don't really feel that it's slow when I'm playing it, so not many kills on that one. Not, like I say, a decent amount of damage. I think my average damage in this is over 2,000. So, and that's even in those matches where you go the wrong way. I had one earlier where I went the wrong way on Sacred Valley. I went to the north. I started in the sort of southeastern spawn. Went up to the northeastern corner in a tier 7 match, expecting to run into quite a strong push around that northeastern corner, and there was nothing really there. So yeah, it just happens that way sometimes. And although this is quicker than the T28, the T28 prototype, it's still it's still not a fast tank. So I was going to go forwards and then left and try and cover the bridge, because that's a pretty good range. This is a tier 7 match. In a tier 7 match, that'd be a pretty good range to work at across that bridge. But I noticed that not many people are going around that northern corner to cover D8 and 7, that sort of area. And again, it's going to be a good range for this to work at. It's a tier 7 match, so I can afford to be a bit more aggressive and get a bit closer. Use it a bit more as an assault gun. And again, in tier 8 matches, you don't have to stay right at the back. Medium range is good, but if you feel comfortable at long range, it'll work at long range as well. The accuracy might let you down ever so slightly at the long range, with it being 0.4. But if that's where you feel more comfortable in it, then by all means stay at long range. But I think even in Tier 8 you can afford to be relatively aggressive and sort of get up to medium range, and then when you top tier, like I say, you can get in at sort of short range. Just try not to be outflanked, and that's what you've got to be careful of. Right, so we're nearly at the corner. It might be slow, but we get there eventually. And again, not as strong a push as I was expecting. Normally when you're on this map, as you probably know, there is quite a strong push around that corner. Occasionally we get matches like this, and I've had them where there isn't much of a push. You know, a couple of tanks is all that they send. But I'd say that's more unusual than a strong push around that corner. It's normally the bridge is one of the weaker points where you'll only get a couple of tanks. Right, well they've backed right off around the corner. And I'm feeling impatient, so do you know what? Screw it. Let's get down the hill, get a bit closer. And when they pop back out, if they pop back out, they'll get a bit more of a surprise. And I managed to hit the Tiger in the ammo rack, not enough to pop his turret, which is always disappointing. It's always nice to pop somebody's turret off. But he's just bouncing harmlessly off. And that one's damaged my gun. That's something that I nearly forgot to mention. I do get the gun damaged in this quite a lot. It's quite a fat barrel, if you notice, on the front, and it does get hit and damaged a lot actually. In fact, more often than not, I wouldn't say every match the gun gets damaged, but almost every match. So that's something to possibly take into consideration for your cruise skills. Maybe put, I think it's armourer on, which increases your accuracy with a damaged gun, because then you don't have to deal with really bad accuracy, and you don't have to burn through a repair kit to fix your gun. Oh, that's a flanking shot. Oh, and it's a 12T. That's an auto-loader. That's not good. And I don't have my repair kit because I burnt it fixing my gun. There you go. Case in point, you see. And I'm just hoping he's out of ammunition, which I think he is. Get my tracks back up.
Tracks up. Let's go.
And that big guy that went around the corner, the Japanese Super Heavy, should be able to deal with what's around there. So I'm going to turn and keep an eye on that 12T, because I don't want to give an auto load on my flank again. And that would be quite silly. Oh, he just took a hit from something. The guy on the bridge. Now it looked at this point as though the Japanese Super Heavy had taken care of that medium that was round there. So I decided to make my way across under the bridge and try and flank either the ones in the valley down in the southwest or the guys on the bridge, and basically by the time I get across there, see how the battle's actually flowing. But as you can see, the mediums pop back up on the map, and well, the Super Heavy should be able to deal with him. So I'm going to carry on going where I'm going, and hopefully be able to get back into the fight. I was a bit concerned at this point that the game was basically over for me because of being so slow, but then I come across a tier 6 light tank hiding behind a rock, give him a nasty surprise. The guy on the bridge goes for him and he's shooting at the guy on the bridge. I'm not even sure that he's noticed me, to be honest. I know it said I'd been spotted, but it's he just seemed to go for the guy on the bridge. Whether he just looked at me and thought, nah, forget it, I'm never going to penetrate the front of that, which is quite possible. Now, enemy down to 3 tanks, so it's not looking too shabby. I don't really feel like I've done much, but again, it's one of those vehicles that if you go the wrong way at the beginning, or there's not much of a push the way that you go that you'd expect it to be, the matches can turn out like this. It does have that extra top speed, but it still doesn't get you across the battlefield like a fast medium would. You know, you go the wrong way in a Cromwell and it's an easy mistake to rectify because you're fast enough to get back to where the actual fight's happening. But all those guys in the valley have been taken out. The rest of our team are going for cap, and although we could easily cap out because there's only 2 of them, why not get some damage and stop them getting there in the first place? So I am just quick enough to catch them before they disappear. Put a good one through the front of the Jagdpanther. And he bounces off my lower plate, possibly. But then I get my tracks damaged. Put another one through the Jagdpanther, and this is where I start to angle more, and you can see that guy's going for the sponson on the side, but I managed to finish off the Jagdpanther, straighten up for the 361H. And one shot, and that's all it took. But I was lucky because he was hitting those sponsons and he was penetrating. And I got a bit worried there actually. I did think at first he was going to finish me off before I could reload. But that's what can happen if you get a bit too close or give them too much of a shot on those sponsons. But anyway, not a bad match all in all. Finished with a high caliber steel wall, sniper medal and a second class mastery and just under 3,000 damage done. Well, 2,800 and... I couldn't see what it was. 2,826 is it? But I came in second again. Which isn't too bad, you know. I'm happy with that. I'll take second. But I do seem to get second a lot in this. Don't often come in first. So we're going to finish it off with another tier 7 match, I think it is, on airfield. And it's a standard battle. And not a brilliant match, I must admit. Decent bit of damage. But it was fun. You know, there was a funny moment in it, and I thought, do you know what, I'll put it on and share it with you. And I think I found a clip for my new intro at the end of the month when the monster tanks go off. And there's Japanese tier 7 super heavy there, the Oni. I'm working my way through those at the minute. I've been saving footage of the lower tier ones. I think I'm going to bunch together the sort of tier 2, tier 3, maybe tier 4 into one video. I'm not sure, I might give the tier 4 one on its own. Been, like I say, steadily working up. I've got the OI experimental, not quite fully upgraded. I've got to get the top engine, I think it is. But I'm having good fun in it. It's got the 10cm gun. Not quite as much penetration as the Kaiju or the OI at tier 6, but still a very hefty cannon. Right, so I'm going to guard this bottom corner as best I can. I know one's got a cross, so I'll keep half an eye on him. But let's try and get rid of this KV-13. And then if we can deal with that other guy if nobody else has done. But it looks like he's running some resistance anyway. Knock the tracks off the KV-13. One more through the front. And that's all she wrote. Right. But you could see how I was angled there. And again, using the rocks to hide the sponson on the left. The bulk of the actual tank hides the sponson on the right. And angled so that it increases the effective thickness of that front plate there. And again, I'm not an expert, but it's not the best match again. But it's just got those principles. Now, if you do something like that in a city, especially if you put one of your tracks sort of up against the corner of the building, so it kind of hides a bit of the front of your tank as well, you can angle that lower plate really well. And the ELC got another nasty surprise. That's 2 nasty surprises for 2 ELCs in this video. But now the other light tank knows I'm there, and I think he's Scarpers. Because I'm expecting him to be hiding and try and get me in my flank or track me as I'm coming over the top. And I'm looking left and right. I can't see him, but there's a nice little bunch of them just over on my right. And this is the funny moment. And you'll see it coming, because I could easily shoot him, but it's just too tempting to resist because he doesn't know I'm there yet. Hello, Mr. Hellcat. Down we go, and I took it in the flank for doing it, but that was so worth it. Absolutely worth it. And now I'm going to try and scuttle about. I'm like a tortoise on my back, completely stuck, can't move. Take another hit. But again, I don't care, it was so worth it. But I do manage to get out of it, which is nice, because if I'd have got stuck there for the rest of the match, maybe that wouldn't have been as worth it. But as it was, absolutely. Luckily, artillery hit that wreck. And the other one just missed me there as well. If that had hit the top deck of this, that could have been very messy. Now, something that I don't know if you guys know, some of you might know this, some of you won't. I didn't know it, and I found out in a video I watched a few weeks back. I can't remember whose video it was that I was watching though. But if an artillery shell hits the wreck of a dead tank, not the ones I think there's scenery that are there already, but the, you know, actual dead teammates or enemy tanks, if artillery shells hit it, it doesn't splash, or it doesn't seem to splash. And I don't know if it's the same as I think it was a PC video I was watching, I can't remember if it was Quickie Baby or Jingles, and I'm assuming that it's the same as on the PC, but on that, if it hits the wreck, it doesn't sort of do any splash anywhere, it kind of absorbs it, and that seems to be what happened when that hit the shell of that Hellcat there. You know, it's a bit situational, you're not always going to be in that situation, but if artillery is raining down and there's a wreck there, try and hide behind it, and hopefully if they hit that, it shouldn't do you any damage. And this is pretty much me. Yeah, that was me out of the game then. I was trying to come up here for artillery, but all the faster tanks just overtook me and took the glory for themselves. But it was just that one funny moment I wanted to show you, because like I say, that just made me laugh, and it was just too tempting to resist a Hellcat with its arse in the air, who wouldn't push it off the cliff. But anyway, I hope that's been helpful for you, and I hope it may have helped you decide whether you'd like to buy the T28 HTC or give it a miss. And tomorrow I'll be back with possibly a random destruction. I've done a lot of reviews this week, so as always, take care out there, and I will catch you next time. See you later.